best friend growing up was Suzie. I played with Suzie all the time. She was near and dear to me. She was even attached to me. Suzie was the name that my parents gave to my vulva. I remember thinking it was strange that a part of my body had a human name, but we trust what our parents tell us. They told me Santa was real, I believed them. They told me I tinkled out of my Suzie, I believed them. So Suzie it was. And eventually, I not only tinkled out of my Suzie, but I could get Suzie really excited. And I learned early on, when Suzie was happy, I was happy. And that became quite often. One of my first memories of Suzie was in kindergarten. It was a Jenny Jezik's birthday party, where I taught her and all of her friends how to hump the bedroom door. It's easy. You put one hand on this handle, yeah, like that, and the other hand on this handle. Okay, now lift your legs up, hang down, yeah, rub the door against your Suzie. Now, was I corrupting my playmates, or did I just introduce them to what MTV or my Hello Kitty boombox eventually would? Technical difficulties. I should let them do the music. Still my best friend. Okay, hump the door, hump the door. We're gonna move on. It says, I touch myself. That was the song, I touch myself, I touch myself. Okay. By first grade, unless you can play it. Okay, by first grade, I started playing with Suzie at school. I would ride my desk slowly back and forth. Now, my last name is Waldman, so I was always seated in the back row. But the back row is perfect for desk humping. Not so perfect for seeing the chalkboard when you have really bad eyes. My bottle cap glasses, I still couldn't see in my squinting. It got so bad. Miss Ayala noticed and she moved me to the front row. The party was over. The front row is the worst place to be if you hump your desk daily. So Suzie had to find other ways to stay excited. Suzie then discovered pool jets, which then led her to discovering faucets in the bathtub. So I went from a girl who maybe showered once a week to a girl who bathed 2 times daily. Things were looking really good for Suzie until she had her first meltdown. I was just shy of 7. It was a Saturday morning. I had a canopy with bedposts, so I pulled myself up, I got into position, and I slid up and down the post. Suzie was feeling so good. She was tingling all over. And I looked at myself in the mirror. I wasn't doing anything wrong, so I wasn't feeling guilty. I was just feeling good, and Suzie was about to burst when my dad barged in. I quickly let go of the post, and I fell to the floor onto my Muppet rug. I was eye to eye with Kermit. His bulging frog pupil looked at me like, "You and Suzie have really done it this time!" It was that night that Suzie was about to receive the worst news ever for a soon-to-be 7-year-old. After getting caught playing with Suzie, my mom sat me down and told me something else that I would come to believe as fact. Because why would my mom lie to me? Honey, if you keep playing with Suzie like that, you will never be able to have babies. My heart sank. I was so confused. I thought every time I play with Suzie, she makes me feel amazing. Why would I give that up? Suzie calmed me down when she got excited. Suzie reduced my angst when I learned of my parents' imminent divorce. Suzie was my medicine for anxiety. But according to my mother, making Suzie feel good was jeopardizing my future. Well, lucky for Suzie, I was too young to care about my future. So that was that. I decided at the wise age of almost 7 that if playing with Suzie meant that I would never get pregnant, I was okay with that. So I continued to play with Suzie daily. And sometimes I would think, did my mom say touching or playing with Suzie would prevent pregnancy? I swore she said touching, so I got really good at playing with Suzie without ever touching her. Look at me, no hands. So I would just rub against things. Anything, everything. Every Monday night while watching the TV show Alf, I'd cozy up against my little Tweety Bird blanket underneath. I'd make sure I was fully covered, and I would take the remote and rub it against my Suzie. And then I'd pass the remote on to my mom. By the time 3rd grade rolled around, I still didn't have it mastered. I kept getting busted, not by my mom or by my dad this time, but by Tom Dalton, who sat next to me. He looked over and asked, "Why are you shaking like that?" My body was sort of out of control, convulsing from my orgasm. And I said, "Because I'm cold, it's freezing." It was Florida and 100 degrees out that day. By 5th grade, it was now a covert operation well underway. I was no longer getting caught. I got awarded the presidential honors in phys ed class, but little did Ronald Reagan know that I was climaxing while hanging from the pull-up bars. The boys were required to do pull-ups, while the girls were just required to hang from the bar for 30 seconds. Lucky me. When I would hang from the bar, it would pull my abdomen in that magical way. It would create this tingling feeling down there in the nether region. So when my teacher called the 30-second mark, I wasn't done yet. And I kept going, and I kept hanging, setting the record for the girls. Probably not what they had in mind when they awarded me most athletic 5th grader. Now, at this point, Suzie had a ton of close friends. Bedposts, doors, desk, pull-up bars, remote controls. Did I mention hairbrushes? Okay. Then I hit middle school and sex ed came, pun intended. That's when I learned, oh wow, there's a word for this. Masturbate. And I was a master, all right. As the teacher pointed her stick at the overhead projector, "Girls and boys, this is a Suzie," I wanted to scream. "Clitoris," she finished. 3 years later by high school, I had Suzie time down to a science, even in the front row. I knew how to squeeze my abdomen muscles together to get Suzie all excited for liftoff. So much so that I would orgasm in the middle of a test and still get an A. When Mr. Harrer's timer would ding, I knew I had 3 minutes to finish the last calculus problem, climax, and get my test onto the teacher's desk. So basically, I was what you would call a master masturbator. All A's, perfect attendance, which probably had something to do with Suzie's obsession with school desks. Then it hit me during finals when Suzie was busy hitting these desks more and more. When my anxiety would increase from test taking, Suzie's desire to hit the desk would also increase. And with each hump, I could breathe a little better. So this wasn't just physical for me, this was mental, this was emotional. It was a release. Humping desks was free therapy. And when I thought back to my decade of masturbation, that's what got me through the tough times of puberty. I didn't have meltdowns. I just had orgasms. So I graduated a little wiser. I also graduated as one of the only virgins in my class, which shouldn't come as a surprise because Suzie was getting well taken care of. Off to university she goes. And that was like a virgin. Okay, I'm just doing like all that. Okay, all right. All right. Thank you. At this point, things were great for Suzie on campus until things changed for Suzie forever. Sophomore year, she gave it the old college try. the old college try. Suzie had sex. Now, you'd think that Suzie would have been psyched to finally be with another human. But sex didn't compare to the orgasm she had alone when growing up. So Suzie was abstinent for the next 2 years. And back to business as usual, college, finals, desks. Then the real world arrived. It's ironic that it took me being an adult to play with toys, and shiny new toys are super exciting for a while. But then Suzie wanted to jump back in the sack. It was then that I realized how in touch I was with my own body. Literally, I knew my anatomy better than any man ever could. It was empowering. I could let my man know what Suzie liked, what she didn't like, and because of it, my sex life became extraordinary. So much so that I stopped masturbating, which is when I noticed that my anxiety levels were rising again. There was this indirect correlation. And even though I had this strong connection with this man, I was missing the connection to myself. Sometimes you gotta take the power away from the penis and put it back into your uterus. Wake your Suzie up, ladies. And the song was, wake up, a little Suzie. Wake up. Wake up. Wake her up, ladies. This is no time for a nap, not now. I say finger your way to freedom. Now, as empowering as all that is, the most important moral of the story is that moms don't always know best. Just the other day on the phone, my mom asked, honey, are you ever going to have babies? Maybe not, Mom, because I love my playdates with Suzie. Oh, and Suzie wanted me to tell you guys, we are best friends again. And I gotta say, it's really nice to be reunited with a childhood friend.